Not only did I just finish filming a video, editing it, taking my thumbnail, editing my thumbnail, and getting it uploaded onto YouTube, I still have to put all the books away from filming the video. I finished my chapters for the Homie and Homely Book Club read and finished Red Queen. So my brain for decision making is shot today. And the only other task I still have to accomplish today is figure out what I'm starting to read next, which I don't feel like doing. So let's make you make the decision. Hey guys, we are back with another one. And like I said in my intro, I have been so productive today. So productive. I am in the middle of filming, which always means I'm also in the middle of cleaning up because filming, although it doesn't probably appear that way, can be a pretty messy business. So I have uploaded. Why does it sound like there's explosions going on upstairs? Be right back. Luckily, it was just the TV, but for any boy moms out there, you know there was a very good chance that that was a real explosion. But it wasn't. It was the TV. So we live another day. So basically, like I was saying, I am so decision making out today. Decision making out? Brain burn? Decision making? Brain burnout today. I have to start another book. I have no clue what I'm in the mood to read. I don't want to make any more decisions today. But I know I'm in the mood to sit down and chill out and read. So I've been sitting back and thinking, I don't want to make the decision. Let's let you guys make the decision. So without further ado, let's go put a poll up on YouTube and let my YouTube subscribers pick my reads for the week. Okay. So I guess task number 1 is figuring out what I should even put in my polls. I think I want to do this kind of like, maybe like by genre. So maybe we should do a fantasy poll, a romance poll, and what should our third poll be? Looking at my TBR, maybe like a general reads or like, oh, a lit fic. Didn't we have, if you watched my TBR, my Spin Wheel TBR this month, we actually had more lit fic than normal. So maybe we should do a fantasy poll, a romance poll, and a literary fiction poll based on our TBR stack. Okay, so let's figure out what books should be on each poll. All right, so this works out pretty well. So for our fantasy poll, I took a look at my TBR and I think we're going to go ahead and do this. So we are going to go ahead and put up the fantasies that are left on my TBR for the month. That is Iron Flame, Empire the Vampire, The City of Stardust, and The Ministry of Time. I'm cool with these being our fantasy poll. So let's go ahead and post. Okay. That is officially posted. We will wait. Now we have to figure out what we'll do for our romances. And once again, I took a look at my TBR and here is what I think I've settled on. Let's go ahead and do the books that are left on my TBR, which is The Love of My Afterlife, The American Roommate Experiment, and American Queen. But that's only 3 options. So I need to pick just like a general book that I've been wanting to read to throw up there. So I think I'm going to put Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young on here because I've seen people talking about it and it's just been staring at me on my shelves lately. So I think those 4 books are going to go on our poll. Let's go ahead and post. I wonder how many votes we're gonna get. Post. Okay, posted. And now for our literary fiction poll, we have Alone with You in the Ether and Lessons in Chemistry on our TBR this month. So those will definitely be 2 out of the 4 options. But for our other 2, the other book that I was highly considering putting on for our literary fiction genre spin choice in my TBR was Good Material by Dolly Alderton. So I think Good Material is going to go on our poll as well, because if that's chosen, that just means I was meant to read it this month. And the only other nonfiction, memoir, literary fiction that's kind of been catching my eye lately is Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton, who played Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter. So I think those will be our 4 options. Okay, so Good Material, Alone with You in the Ether, Beyond the Wand, and where is it? Lessons in Chemistry. Okay. And Post. All right. Our 3 polls are posted. And now we wait. Can I tell you guys a secret? I put those polls up several days ago, but I just needed an intro for the video. Hashtag bad YouTuber. So the polls are already done. Hope you enjoyed my little theatrical creativity. What have we learned today? I'm a bad actor. So, like I said, those polls have actually been up for several days now. I am completely done with the results. I do know what we're going to be reading for the week, but I just tried to plan ahead because we do have kind of a busy couple of days. The next 2 days should be relatively, the next day and a half should be relatively quiet, but my husband and I are spending the weekend in New York City. My kids are going to go and stay with their aunties, who are gracious and amazing enough to take them for the weekend, because my husband and I have some things we have to do in New York City. I actually have some work I have to do in New York City, which I will actually be live on a reading sprint. This is going to go up after I'm done with it, so I'm not going to worry about linking and all of that stuff, but stay tuned on Instagram, or if you've already watched it, thanks for tuning in. But I do have some stuff that I have to do working from New York City. We have a couple of things we have to go to, and we do have concert tickets to go to Taking Back Sunday in the city. So I want to make sure that I have my reading for the next, at the bare minimum, few days, if not the next week, planned out so that I can travel with my books. So let's talk about the results of the polls. Okay, so like I said in the intro, I posted 3 polls: a fantasy poll, a romance poll, and a general literary fiction poll. So without further ado, let's talk about the results of our fantasy poll first. Here they are. So this poll got a total of 433 votes, which is amazing. And of those 433 votes, 43% of you told me to stop procrastinating and read Iron Flame. So that's what we will be doing this week. Next up, let's talk about our literary fiction poll. So for our literary fiction poll, we got 381 votes, and of those 381 votes, 40% of you voted for Lessons in Chemistry. I am so excited that this one won, because like I said in the TBR video, I recently saw Rachel Catherine talk about this book, and she absolutely loved it, so I've been really wanting to dive into it. And then, in true Lindsay fashion, our next poll was our romance poll, and it couldn't have just gone easy, because we received 381 votes, and what are the chances that it ended in a perfect tie between 2 of our options? So we had 33% of the votes go for Out on a Limb, and 33% of the votes go for The Love of Your Afterlife. That wasn't gonna fly. I definitely can't guarantee I'm gonna read both of them, because that was a thought in my head at first. What if I just tried to read both? But with the amount of stuff I have going on this week, I cannot guarantee that that's going to happen. So then what I did was say, okay, let's have our Instagram subscribers be the tiebreaker in this specific instance. So I went ahead and put this post up on Instagram, asking you to choose between Out on a Limb and The Love of My Afterlife. And I purposely said, break a tie for me. And the results were as follows. We received 53% of the vote for Out on a Limb and 47% of the vote for The Love of My Afterlife. So we will be reading Out on a Limb this week. So there you go. This is our stack for the week. We have Iron Flame, Lessons in Chemistry, and Out on a Limb. I do have Iron Flame and Out on a Limb on my Kindle. I don't believe I have Lessons in Chemistry, but I'll have to go check. So that's really good as well because I'll be able to travel to New York City and perhaps just bring my Kindle, if not only roll in with one book on me and the rest of them on my Kindle, which is very travel friendly. And now the question is, where do I start? I just finished Red Queen. And I just read my chapters in Lightlark for this month's book club. So I think I might need a little bit of a fantasy break. So I'm kind of between Out on a Limb and Lessons in Chemistry. Ooh, what do I read? What do I read? I think I'm going to start Lessons in Chemistry. I'm really super intrigued by this book. So I think this is going to be our first read for the week. Full disclosure, I have not talked to this camera in like 5 days. We ended up having such a crazy couple of days. I have been kind of sort of reading. I did 3 days with no reading. I cannot tell you the last time I didn't pick up a book for 3 days, but it's been busy. We had some crazy storms in my area that have kind of set me back. I was in New York City. My son made his high school soccer team as a freshman. I'm so excited and so incredibly proud of him. He works so hard and they practice 7 days a week. So it's a lot. It's been a lot. And honestly, I'm not feeling like slumpy at all, but I am so exhausted doesn't even begin to explain it. At the end of the day, that every single time I pick up my book to read, I don't even make it a half page before I wake up the next morning with my book. Usually my husband has moved the book like off of my chest That's how tired I am. I will fall asleep holding my book and wake up in the morning and it's on the nightstand next to me because I'm so tired by the end of the day. But I did do sprints with Dana and Karina and Kaylani last night, which was so much fun. And I got a lot of my book read. I am still making my way through Lessons in Chemistry. I literally was on page like 25 when I started sprints last night, and I ended on page 167, which is chapter 20. I'm like, I have this little half page to go, but chapter 20. So I did read 140 something pages on sprints, which is awesome. And then I am about to go and do our test and then our sprint with Miss Reagan from Reagan Reads. I'm going to be live sprinting with her today. So the goal, fingers crossed, is to get Lessons in Chemistry done today. And ideal would be to start whichever of the two books I decide to start next, because I don't really know at this point if I'm in the mood for a romance or a fantasy yet. But I am 100 and what did I say, 60 something pages in to Lessons in Chemistry. So before Reagan messages me that we have to do our test, let me give you my initial thoughts on this book. So if you haven't read Lessons in Chemistry, this is about our main female character, and Elizabeth, who is a scientist. This takes place in like the 50s and the 60s when women were more accepted to be at home raising the children, and that is fantastic. I mean, that's ideal for a lot of women, but not for Elizabeth. She wants to be a scientist, which at this time apparently either in her area or in her worldview is a male job, quote unquote. It's a male dominated industry. And let me tell you something right now. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe it's just this company, but this woman is dealing with like the worst people you will ever hear about or ever read about on planet Earth. And it's almost overdone to the point where I'm like, who would work for these people? Are the dregs. Like, they're disgusting people. They're cynical and nasty and everyone is miserable. Like, go be a scientist somewhere else, girl. Like, I'm not discouraging Elizabeth from being a scientist. Go do you, boo. Okay, that's what you want to do. I think fight for it. Go for it. There's gonna be hurdles no matter what you do in life. Go for it. But like, not here. Like, this place, I don't know what she's fighting so hard to work here for. These people are atrocious. They're disgusting. And she just sticks around. But even in the 50s or 60s, there is no way that this is the acceptable way to speak to women. There was respect for women in the 50s and the 60s, and I'm just sitting here being like, girl, it's not the time, it's not the culture, it's the people and the place that allows the behavior. It's good and it's getting better because Elizabeth is quite cynical, and I think the author is trying to portray her as like a boss babe, right? Like, she's this really like kind of like aggressive, I'm not going to back down, I'm going to get my dreams and you're not going to keep me down, and like very aggressive kind of woman, which I love. I'm much more aggressive and extroverted actually in my personality, but she's just unlikable to me. I think she's a cynic, and I think she is so looking for people to dissuade her from doing things that like the good supportive people she has in her life, she's like rejecting. She's just looking for people to discount her and kind of reads into it everywhere. You know, it's one of those like confirmation biases. Like, if you think that someone is going to be a certain way, you create them as that person in your head. And then no matter what they do, you're just going to make them fit your narrative. You know what I'm saying? And I think that she has labeled everyone in her life as against her and her against the world. And she has this very supportive man in her life who she kind of treats like garbage. Like, she's rejecting him and not nice to him. And something really tragic happens. And I think I'm finally to the point of the book now where she got a bit of a reality check and realized, oh my gosh, I've been treating people in my life who love me poorly. So I'm liking the book now more in like the last 20 to 30 pages than I was in the other like 130, because I just kind of actively disliked Elizabeth. I'm liking it more now. And I'm hoping that Elizabeth will realize as the book progresses that she can have it all. Like, she can be aggressive and a go-getter and the scientist and live her life the way she wants to, while also recognizing, acknowledging, and honoring the people in her life who helped her get there. And also completely rejecting and fighting the people who tried to hold her down. But I don't know. I'm not loving it so far. However, I will say this. Bonnie Garmus is an absolutely masterful writer, author. This book is beautifully written. She's obviously an incredibly intelligent woman who can write the hell out of a book, let me tell you. Bonnie Garmus's writing in the first 130 pages was really what was keeping me locked into this book. But I guarantee you that when I look at my phone, once I'm done filming this, Reagan has messaged me and said that we're ready to do our test. So I'm going to pop off of here. I'm going to try to get some footage for our sprints. Let me see if I can finish lessons in chemistry in the next couple of hours. Okay, so I did just a little while ago get off of sprints with Reagan. And first of all, like, I've had a weekend of sprinting with all of my book besties, and I'm like feeling like so lucky to know all of them. The book community is truly just another level of supportive and fun and accepting, and it's so nice to just connect with people who have a similar hobby from you. And everyone who jumps into the chat and stuff on the sprints is just, it's so heartwarming to be able to be in a community with people with similar interests, and you could like chat about books. And I really was struck by how open this community is, because we were in the chat, we were talking about like certain books that some of us gave 5 stars and some of us DNF'd or like didn't like or gave lower stars. And the productive conversations that we could have about that kind of stuff is just so cool, because it gives you insights to how everybody just has different tastes. And just because I loved it or didn't like it doesn't mean you have to love it or don't like it. You know what I'm saying? It's so cool. And I am so lucky to have the book friends that I have. So for all of my book girlies, Dana, Karina, Kaylani, and Reagan, thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me onto your fantastic sprints. I'm so grateful, and I'm so lucky and blessed to know all of you and have all of you in my life, and I hope we could do it a million more times because I had a blast. So anyways, Mushy Lindsay has left the chat. Okay, and let's talk about the progress that I made on my reading. So today, while I was on sprints with Reagan, I did finish like 120-ish pages, which is so amazing because that was in like 2 hours and 15 minutes of reading, something like that. So that's really good. And I am now on page 279. I stopped mid-chapter to chat in the chat. So to chat with all the people in the chat, I should say. So I am almost like 2 pages short of chapter 32. I think I'm like 75% of the way through the book or something. So I've read all that. For my visual learners, I just have that little slice left. So my goal for tonight is to go to the grocery store, grab stuff to cook for dinner, cook dinner for the kids, and then once they're all settled and good to go, my goal is to sit down and finish this book tonight, which would put me at about 120 more pages till the end of this book, but I think I can do it. I'm going to reserve my final thoughts for the end, but just really quickly, 275 plus pages in, I'm still not loving this book. I still think that this book has some of the most miserable characters I have ever read in my entire reading life. I honestly don't like pretty much I think my favorite character in this whole book is our main character's 4-year-old daughter. Like, I think that her name is Mad. I think that Mad is like the only one in this book that I truly love and I'm like pulling for. And I think these characters are so miserable and cynical, and just like truly our main female character, Elizabeth, knows truly some of the worst people on this planet. Like, I don't know how she's attracting such animosity and hostility and nastiness to herself, but it is a It is not good. I'm not loving it. However, Bonnie Garmus's writing is great. So it's not the writing that's the problem. I'm flying through it. The writing is easy. The writing is descriptive and beautiful and clear and concise. It's not the writing. It's the storyline. I'm not loving any of the theming in the book. I'm not connecting with the characters. I actually actively dislike the characters. So I'm hoping in the last 120 pages that changes, but my hopes are not high. So I'm going to go to the store, get my kids fed, and then we'll sit down and see if we can finish this book tonight.
Life too short to go through it alone. When I met you, you left an open door. I keep checking in to see if you're still home. Wanna be your light, wanna be your home. Ooh, are you home? Ooh, are you there? No one ever see me the way you do, 'cause I never met anyone like you. Look up, the stars align. Now what don't I do but strong all by myself? You said it's okay to ask for help, and God, I found you now.
Okay. Let's talk about it. So yesterday I did finish Lessons in Chemistry. Okay. Before we talk about what I think about it, let's just address the elephant in the room. This book was not for me, and that's fair enough because it was not intended to be for me, okay? I am not the target audience. I am not the person that this book's intended audience was for, okay? So let's start with the positives. Bonnie Garmus's writing, great. Amazing. She can write. I loved her style, her prose, her pacing. I thought it was uncomplicated in a complicated way. That doesn't make any sense, but if you know, you know. It was easy to follow, but told such a complex story, which is honestly an art form in and of itself. That is very difficult for an author to do. And I hope I am portraying that I deeply appreciate this author's talent because it's very good. However, the characters, they redeemed themselves in the end, but for so much of the book, I was just so kind of grossed out by them. They weren't for me. I didn't care for them. This was a casting character of a lot of cynical, miserable, very defensive people. And it just wasn't quite what I like to read about. The subject matter, I think, will be very moving and important to some people, but is just not a worldview I subscribe to and delve into. So I'm going to go ahead after all that and give it a 3-star. Honestly, for most of the book, this was sitting at a 2-star for me. But I gave it a little bump because of the writing and how much I appreciated it. But also because I did start to care and like the way it wrapped up. Some of that cynicism and miserableness did clear up when some things were explained in the last 3 chapters. And I was like, oh, okay, I hope that they continue on in life happier, more fulfilled people. I hope that they drop some of this festering rage and just move on, and accept that there are really gross people in the world and they only win if you allow them to affect you and to change your personality and the way you move through the world. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to drop it. Listen, if you are the audience that this is intended for, I'm sure this speaks to your soul and you love it, but it did nothing for me. I didn't care for it. It actually kind of frustrated me through most of the story. And if you want to read a book with a bunch of characters that hate the world and are just horrible, miserable, awful people that just think that they can say really horrible, awful things to each other and do really horrible, awful things to each other, seemingly without consequence until the 3 chapters at the end, then read this, but not for me. All right, let's just be done with that business. Okay, let's just be done with the lessons in chemistry business. I have to decide what I'm moving on to now. And as we discussed before, I have 2 options moving forward in this video. I can either go with our romance pick, which is Out on a Limb, or delve into our fantasy pick, which is Iron Flame. If you know how badly I have been avoiding Iron Flame, I am so incredibly in love with Fourth Wing, and I am just terrified of this book. I'm just so afraid that it's going to disappoint me. When you're in love with someone, that's how real this book is to me. I'm like, no, these are people in my life. Like, Xaden and Violet live with me in my house. Like, these are real. No, when you're in love with something so much, the prospect of it getting screwed up is so scary. So I've been avoiding this, and this is calling to me as like a much like easier read than this dense political fantasy. Everything in my head is screaming at me to choose Out on a Limb. But everything in my heart is telling me that I want, and I'm ready to jump into Iron Flame. I'm going to go with Iron Flame next. Oh my God. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. Alert the presses. Don't panic. It's happening. However, now that my decision has been made, I am acutely aware that I have not read Fourth Wing in over a year. And although the core characters and the core plot lines have buried themselves deep in my soul and my psyche, and I am really confident that I remember the main points. What are my children doing up there? Oh my goodness. Have boys, they said, so that it could sound like your house is about to implode at any second, they said. And they were right. While those main points I don't think I will ever forget, I am slightly in fear that I've forgotten the smaller details and the smaller characters. So with that being said, I think that I am going to go over to, she's the real life book reviewer on Instagram and she'll be linked below, but on YouTube it is Jared and Lindsay's POV, because she and her husband share the most adorable YouTube channel ever and they're the cutest couple ever. So I think I'm going to go over to Jared and Lindsay's channel, and she has this recap series she does with really popular books, and she always releases 2 videos. One is like a shorter, quicker, like Spark Notes version, and one is like a long, comprehensive video, like really delving into the details of the book. I think I'm going to go watch both of these while I make a sandwich and some lunch, and then I'm going to jump right in. So if you are looking for any recaps of books before you move on to the second or continue in the series, if you're afraid that you've lost some details or you just want a quick refresher, Lindsay's videos and her recaps are so incredibly useful. She really is like the Spark Notes of BookTube. So I'm going to go and watch Lindsay. Great name, by the way. If I do say so myself, while I make myself a sandwich and make my kids some lunch, and then I am just going to jump in. Wish me luck. I could do hard things. And this book, you know what? I need to change my mindset. Stop being such a negative Nancy. This book is going to be great. It's going to rival Fourth Wing. It's going to be a 5-star read, and I'm going to say, why in God's name did you wait so long to read this? So that's the mindset I'm going to change to. Let's do it.
To make
and not be laughing.
Well, maybe it was fate when you walked in the door. I could have sworn I've seen your face before. So glad that you said hi, 'cause I was way too shy. What would have happened?
Where's my waffles?
In the morning,
I'm
making waffles. Hi. Hey, waffles on you? Come here. Waffles on you? I think they are. I think the waffles are on you. Let's go.
Go.
That's a sheep. Yeah. In the morning, what's he making? Waffles.
I'm sorry.
I know.
All I knew, only God knew about all those little moments. Well, maybe it was fate or a part of his plan. Giving me you was like giving.
Okay, it is now a couple of days later. I think I've gotten some footage of the last couple of days, like reading and doing fun things. It's the last couple of days of summer here, so I've really been prioritizing like hanging out with the kids, making sure they have like the best last couple of days of their summer, but also not only does school start, but as soon as school starts, fall sports start, so our lives get infinitely busier. Not that they ever slowed down, but separate story. Okay, so I am now officially 68% of the way through Iron Flame. I think that's page like 615 on my Kindle, and in my actual physical, this is my Barnes & Noble copy, but in my physical copy, that is chapter 45, page 431. So I just have like this little last section to go. So yeah, like almost 70% of the way through the book. And I wanted to give you guys just some thoughts before I finish. I think best case scenario, I would finish today, but this is a very long, very dense book with a lot of words on every page. I don't know why the publisher made the decision to make the font so small, but they did. We're gonna fight, I swear to God. But there's a lot of words on every page. It's very dense reading. I just want to give like my really quick initial thoughts. I will say this was hands down the book that I was the most intimidated by because of how much I loved Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is a 6-star book for me. It was my favorite book that I read in all of 2023. And when this just came out, I think people freaked me out and intimidated me that what I was hearing is that this completely changed like the style of writing, that it completely changed the direction that the book was going in, that it went from a character-based fantasy with this amazingly unique world to all world building and politics. And I was like, because even though I don't mind world building and politics in a fantasy book, I do prefer and gravitate to more character-based plot lines. And that is one of the things I love so deeply and so much about Fourth Wing. So when I heard that that might have changed, I was so intimidated, so scared that this Iron Flame was just going to like ruin the Empyrean series experience for me. And I am here to tell you that 70% of the way through, there is still 30% of the book left for me to change. So who knows what the opinion will be at the end of the book at 100% of the way through. But speaking from 70% of the way through the book, what are you people talking about? Like, I have no idea what everyone who has been critical of this book has been talking about. This is out of this world fantastic. This is amazing. There is no difference. I mean, is there more world building in this than there was in Fourth Wing? Sure, but it's also 200 pages longer. You don't need any more character work. You already know your characters from Fourth Wing, and this is building the world, building the story so that you can continue on in the series. What are you talking about? It is so good. If you are someone like me who loved Fourth Wing, and because you loved Fourth Wing so much, you were so turned off or so scared or so, I don't want to say intimidated again because I'm overusing it, but it does encompass what I felt. Just this deep intimidation that this was going to take a perfect series down for you. Please stop. Please stop. It's amazing. There's nothing wrong with this book. There's nothing wrong with this book. If anything, I love Violet and Xaden more than I did in Fourth Wing, because I'm getting to know them on a deeper level. And even though you could hardly call Fourth Wing a low stakes book, this has upped the stakes so much that I feel so scared for Xaden and Violet. I'm so invested in this story. I love this world. Navarre and Basgiath and the entire world that you are being taken through is just mind-blowingly well done. The character work is great. The banter is great. The action is great. There is not a single chapter in 600 pages that on my Kindle that I have been bored in. Not a single one. So I respectfully disagree with the criticism of this book. If you are someone who read this and you criticized it or you disliked it and you feel as though I'm missing something, like I'm missing a part that was bad or written poorly or I shouldn't like, please comment down below and correct me. Like, tell me what I'm not getting about the criticism, because this right here is on track to be another perfect book on the same level as Fourth Wing. I genuinely don't know what people didn't like, but that's at 70% of the way. Let's not speak too soon. Let's bang out this last 30% and I will come back with my final thoughts. I finished. I'm still processing. I'm still recovering. The end of this book is insane. I think Rebecca Yarros and I have a little bit of beef now. Legitimate, like, I'm sweating. How are you going to end a book like that? And now what? Now what? I just, like, wait till January for Onyx Storm to come out. And I just don't think about that every day until January 25th, I believe it is. I just move on. Okay. I guess that's what we do. We power through. The drama. The drama. But in all seriousness, if I chill out, take a breath, and relax, this, I legitimately do not know what everyone was talking about. What are you talking about? This is amazing. If you are like me and were so put off by hearing other people's opinions of this book, saying that this was poorly written or the storyline was unengaging or it didn't have enough action, like what, where, when, how, why? Like all the questions. I read a totally different book. This right here is getting a 4.5 stars from me now. Fourth Wing was a 5 Infinity Star, okay? I did not like this as much as I liked Fourth Wing, but honestly, this was a totally different book, okay? This right here is very much guiding us into the direction of Onyx Storm, okay? Fourth Wing was the introduction to the characters in the world. This was action-packed, world building, character building, plot building to carry us into Onyx Storm. However, in 600 plus pages, Rebecca Yarros did this masterfully. Masterfully. And I do not know what everyone who criticized this book was talking about. Now, I can't say too much about it because you might not have read Fourth Wing, and it is literally so worth your time that I would kick myself for spoiling anything for you. If you haven't read Fourth Wing, please go read it. I just think that go into it blind. Like, I hope you haven't read any recommendations or any reviews because, how to say this? How to say this in a kind, graceful way. I think sometimes people just like to complain to hear themselves complain, and that's my take on the negativity towards this book. I think that Fourth Wing hit the ground running with so much acclaim and was literally so viral and explosive, and you quite literally could not escape it. And I think people got kind of burned out with it, hearing about it so much, so that when this came out, people were just hell-bent on criticizing it. Like, people were just chomping at the bit to talk about how horrible this was, to like knock the Fourth Wing craze down a peg, if that makes sense. I don't know. That's my take on this, because this writing was very cohesively put together after Fourth Wing. The characters are very like on brand, as they say. Like, I don't feel like any of the characters did this major switch up where you were like, that's not the character I read in the first book. None of that. The characters are so consistent. That's what I'll say. The world is chef's kiss. Like, Navarre and all the surrounding worlds that you particularly learn about in Iron Flame, I can picture literally everything in my head so vividly. Rebecca Yarros' writing is incredible. This was amazing. Now, it did get knocked down just a tiny, tiny, tiny little half star for, you know, I cherry picked a couple of reasons that I found myself while I was reading this just say like, oh, okay, like they didn't do that in Fourth Wing, and I think I preferred the way that Fourth Wing was done over this. And the main one that really stands out for me with this is mostly just the relationship between Xaden and Violet in this book. So in this book, with obviously no spoilers, but I could sum up Violet and Xaden's relationship in this book in the following way. I'm so in love with you. I'm obsessed with you. I could never imagine my life without you. What? You didn't tell me literally every detail of your day? Like, you didn't tell me what you ate for breakfast this morning? You're keeping things from me. I hate you. I could never be with you. But Violet, I love you. I could never be away from you. We'll die if we're not together. Oh my God, he's so hot. I love him so much. You're my everything. You're the gravity that holds me to this world. Wait a minute. We are in the middle of a war and we didn't have time to talk about every single intricate detail of your childhood, which now I'm going to assume means you're lying to me. I hate you. I never want to see you again. I could never be with you. You're clearly not the one for me. But Violet, I love you. Oh my God, I love you too. Let's be together forever. We're going to go and we're going to live after this together and everything's going to be great. What happened? You once again took longer than 5 minutes to contact me? I hate you. That's the entire book between Xaden and Violet. And listen, I understand that they're supposed to be young. Okay, I get it. I think she's like 19, 19, something like that. I understand that they're supposed to be young, but it read very childish, very immature, very dramatic high school relationship. And if you want to make the argument that Basgiath is like, quote unquote, like a high school type of situation, sure, except for the fact that in every other aspect of these characters' lives, they are portrayed as adults and they are literally fighting for the savior of their people, to be saviors of their people and their world. And they deal with like literal life and death adult issues every single day. And then they have these very childish miscommunications and fights. And some of it was well placed. Some of it made sense, but it was overdone in my opinion. And it happened too much to the point where on like the third time I was kind of like, girl, like make up your mind. You either want to be with him or you don't. Like, geez, like, it was just a little exhausting after a while, where like she would get upset with him again for like a ridiculous, silly reason, and he would just kind of be like, oh my god, like in 4 pages you're gonna be obsessed with him again, and you guys are gonna be in love, and then 4 pages from that you're gonna be fighting again. And there's so much serious life or death stuff going on in this book that I was like, who even has time to fight about this petty and inane nonsense? Like, that got a little bit frustrating. I didn't love that. With that being said, it all wraps up the way it does at the end of the book, and I can get over it. Like, I can move past it. I'm hoping that in Onyx Storm, we see a little bit more mature development of Xaden and Violet's relationship, because in every other aspect, like I said, they are super mature. So, who knows? The other thing was that the book and the plotline never dragged. However, I will say that this is 100% more politics than in Fourth Wing. So you do get a bit wordy. The world building is definitely more intense than Fourth Wing. Go into it knowing that. I don't find it boring world building. I don't find it boring politics, but if that's kind of not your thing, you can skim some, okay? Like, you don't necessarily have to know every single very, intense detail that she tells you. You can kind of skim, but 4.5 stars. Loved it. Amazing. Hands down, my favorite series that I've read in the last few years. This is incredible. Read it. And don't listen to the haters, because they're just wrong. They're patently incorrect. That is my public service message. I approve. So, after I put down Iron Flame, I did go ahead and pick up Out on a Limb. I left the physical copy out in my car because I had like 30 minutes between my son's soccer practice and him being done with his friends after they had played a game. So I sat in my car for like 30 minutes and read it, left it in the door of my car. But I did pick up and read somewhere like 45 pages in Out on a Limb, and I'm really liking it. I'm going to hold off on my thoughts for right now, because you know my rule. I like to read at least 100 pages before I come back and give you guys like a synopsis and an initial take. I just think that you can't make a snap judgment on a book in under 100 pages. So I'm going to go ahead, go out for dinner with my dad and the boys, and then I'm going to come back, do a little reading, pop back on in a little while to give you my thoughts. But we are officially on book 3 of this challenge that you guys picked for me. And you guys have done really well so far.
Give me your strength and show me your weakness. We're in this together now. We're in this together now. Give me your love and tell me your secrets. 'Cause we're in this together now. Yeah, we're in this together now. No, 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 no. I'll keep you safe, I'll give you my everything. Even if we're falling down, even if we're falling down, all of me is yours, every part of me. 'Cause we're in this together now. You and me together now. What's the point of living if we're scared to lose each other?
It is officially the next morning, and I know I said I would check in with you guys when I was like 100 pages in, but the day got busy. I ended up like reading on the run, and more than that, I ended up getting totally sucked into this book and flew through it, didn't stop back in, and now I'm on page 244. So I only have like 110 pages left till the end of this book, and I feel like I'm invested enough in the plot and the characters now to come on here and tell you guys what this book is about and my first initial thoughts before I go ahead and finish it. So if you haven't read Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, this follows our main female character, Winifred, which she is called Win, and she is at a Halloween party that her friends are throwing when she meets a man named Beau. And besides for the fact that he is very charming, very bantery, they kind of initially bond over the fact that they both have a limb difference. So Win was born with an underdeveloped right hand. I believe it's her right hand. Yes, right hand. And Bo actually has a prosthetic leg. So they felt initially comfortable around each other. They really kind of bonded over the fact that they had that similarity, and they were intrigued by each other because of that. And one thing led to another. They ended up having a little one-night stand, and our girl Wynn found out that she was pregnant. Now, none of that is a spoiler. This is all on the back of the book. In fact, it says, a hot one-night stand and an unexpected pregnancy lead a young woman to someone she can depend on. Okay, so none of that's a spoiler. It's all on the back of the book. But for me, what this book is really about is accepting yourself, finding a common thread in others. And I know a lot of people don't love the unexpected pregnancy trope or the pregnancy trope in general, but in my opinion, I personally don't mind that trope. But in my opinion, this book does it really well because they don't focus so much on the pregnancy. It's kind of just a subplot happening in the background of the bigger theme of these characters coming into their own, learning more about each other, and being thrust into this unexpected situation that forces them to really have deep conversations relatively quickly. It is very well written, it is very good, and it's very easy to read. I'm flying through it, obviously, but what I really want to do is sit down and bang out this last 110 pages and come back to you with a rating, because I am at a part where I'm so excited to see what happens with Wynn and Bo.
You look at me like I'm crazy when I shut my feelings out. You look at me like I'm different, still you stay cause you feel something real. Get so lost in my moments, doesn't mean I don't need you. I fell in love with your colors, they kinda tell me what I'm thinking. I fell in love with the way we are and the way we lose it. There's something different about us, and the reason why we stay. We fly around like paper planes, they never know where we will fall. Nobody can see us, still they wanna tear us apart. There's something different about the way we are. There's something different about us. There's something different about us. We're pouring cup after cup after cup. Yeah, it's just the way we do it. Anything just to block out the real life, real life.
And just like that, in exactly 24 hours, I have finished Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This book was adorable. Adorable. Right off the bat, let's just get right into it. I'm giving this 4 stars. It was like, I'm going to stand by all of the things that I said before, right? That the story was great, the banter was great, it read really quickly. I did deduct some stars because I found the female main character a little bit annoying at times, and the main male character was literal perfection, but to kind of like an eye-rolling amount sometimes. Like, he was literally the perfect specimen of, like, not only just like men, but like human being. This man had no red flags, no beige flags. It was just all sickeningly sweet green flags the entire way through, and I love that. I don't, it's not that I necessarily have a problem with that. It's just that it kind of took some of the believability out of the story for me. Like, I wish he had a flaw. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have related to him more if he was a typical, realistic, flawed human being. I guess that's the way to say it. I know that seems petty, but it was something that just kind of was pervasive as I read the story. I was just kind of like, Bo, why are you so perfect? Like, I almost felt like Wynn maybe felt pressured by him to be as perfect as he was sometimes, but she got a little annoying, but I loved their story. I loved the fact that they had this shared experience in their limb differences, and it was really just a heartwarming, very well written, very bantery, and quite spicy, by the way, story. So I stick by 4 stars. So that's it, guys. Those were all 3 books that you guys chose for me this week. Let's do a quick wrap up so we could talk about how it went. The first book I read was Lessons in Chemistry, and I gave this a 3 stars. I'm not going to rant again about it, but if you loved this book, I could totally understand why. I get why so many people get the hype. I do understand the hype and the writing is great. It just was not intended for me. So if you loved it and it was intended for you, I'm so glad. But for me, this was anywhere between like a 2.5 and a 3 star. Then I went into Iron Flame by Miss Rebecca Yarros. This was a 4.5 star. So close to perfection, so close. Didn't quite enjoy it as much as my Infinity Star Fourth Wing, but it was still very good. And honestly, this has made me think that Onyx Storm is going to be an Infinity Star. If the setup in this book carries on into the action in the way that the plot points I think are going to progress in Onyx Storm, I understand why this book was necessary. I understand why it exists, and I think Onyx Storm is going to blow my mind. And then, last but not least, I read Out on a Limb by Hannah Bottom Young and gave this a 4 star. You guys have picked some truly incredible books this week. Thank you so much, as always, for participating. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you stuck around this entire time, go ahead and comment the science emojis. I think there's like a beaker, but if not, I know there's like a little science symbol. So one of those below, and then do all of the things that you are so professional at doing, like comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.